Oh, yo, 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 yo. Oh, yo, yo, yo. Came up from the struggle, now we stacking chips. Black Wall Street, we rebuilding from the pits. Politics and business, we beyond rich. Donnie Glover Show, watch us shift the switch. Donnie Glover Show by BimoreNews.com. Spotlight on the hustle when the real ones come. Every episode, dropping knowledge, dropping bombs. Donnie Glover Show by BimoreNews.com. Talking black excellence, ain't no exclusivity. History in making, reclaiming our divinity. Brick by brick, rebuilding our community. Donnie Glover Show, celebrate unity. Donnie Glover Show by BimoreNews.com. Spotlight on the hustle where the real ones come. Every episode, dropping knowledge, dropping bombs. Donnie Glover Show by BimoreNews.com. From the boardroom to the streets, we making waves. Business minds running, new paths paved. Politicians listen, they know we the brave. Black Wall Street dreams rising from the grave. Donnie Glover Show by BimoreNews.com. Spotlight on the hustle where the
we have some stars in the building.
Donnie Glover Show by BimoreNews.com. Oh yo, oh yo, oh yo, yo.
We'd like to welcome you to BmoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth. Special thank you to our executive producer of Be More News in Niagara, Mr. Emmanuel Price. We're up here this is the New York side, and that's the Canadian side, and we will be there for the New Year's dropping of the ball or somewhere around here. Very beautiful Niagara Falls, some of the best water in the world. So make sure you get out, get your passport, and do some traveling. And keep watching BmoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth. Welcome to BmoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth. Here on Atlantic, Mississippi, with our very dear friend Corey Mathis. A beautiful town, New Orleans. Keep watching BmoreNews.com. We're going to give you an update. 10 years since Katrina. The news before the news, where we uncover the truth.
Wall Street, we rebuilding from the pits. Politics and business, we beyond rich.
First name's Donnie, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. Listen, you're hosting because I got to go get some coffee. So tell them who you are. I need 45 seconds, okay?
What do you want me to talk about?
Just tell them who you are.
Okay, good morning. My name is Lawrence Bell, and I'm a former president of the Baltimore City Council. I'm a resident of West Baltimore. I am presently the president of the Friends of Gwynn Falls Parkway, and we are working with communities not only in West Baltimore, but all over the city in an effort to make the city a better place in which to live. You know, we're working together on a lot of issues right now. We have a concern about, bike lanes and other things. But I think the key thing is that we think that in Baltimore and other cities of its kind, the people are not being heard. And that's our concern. The people are not being heard. And we know that we can do better than we are right now. I am very concerned that the city of Baltimore received money like a lot of other major cities as a result of the COVID-19 crisis, and I'm not confident that those dollars are being used as well as they should be, or have been used as well as they should be. I think we could do a lot better.
All right. So, do you know that your campaign was the first one I think I worked on?
Is that right? Really? Wow. I'm honored. I feel honored.
I remember that campaign. That was 98.
Okay, right. Well,
98, 99, right?
Right, uh-huh.
You had to start before the election year. But that was the first campaign I worked on. And I'm going to tell you who dragged me into that campaign. Darius George Hall.
Oh, okay. My buddy from West Baltimore, Sandtown. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's some years ago. Yeah. Well, I tell you,
And
that
your
was
office was on St. Paul Street, that big
right.
old building that is now Mama Coco's.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that. I've not been
Your
in there.
campaign office is Mama Coco's. It's a unique black restaurant.
Well, that's a good thing. I mean, I tell you, I found out about that building originally because of a fellow named Bill Henry, who was the father of the comptroller right now. His dad, who
I
passed.
love dude. That was my man.
Yeah, well, he was like he was my mentor. You know, he really taught me a lot about politics, and he told me back then you need a location that's kind of center city, and that's how we ended up working with that. But
Was he
yeah,
right?
well, yeah. I mean, we weren't successful in the campaign for mayor, but it was between north and east and west. So that was the whole idea about it. Yeah, yeah. So you
Would
know.
you do that again? Would you have a campaign office for the purposes of being central right down St. Paul Street? Or would you decentralize it, have one east and one west?
You know, I don't know. I think that we like to have a real ground campaign type oriented campaign, actually. So I guess as much as you decentralize it, the better. You know what I mean? I like that. I'm an activist first. You know, I was a political activist before I actually ran for office. So I like that kind of street campaign. And sometimes what happens is we allow too many people who are outside of that realm to kind of take over the campaigns, you know, and so we politics, local politics, and that makes the politics different. But I don't know. I might be more inclined to decentralize if I did it again. Yeah.
Would you ever run for office again?
That's like the $64,000 question. I get that question all the time.
You know
I don't
why?
know. Huh?
Do
What you
you
say?
know
What?
why? Do
Why is
you know
that?
why you get the question?
You tell me. What are your thoughts?
Well, people look to you as a leader. And right now, if people are asking you that, then they feel a need for leadership. Maybe they have a lack of faith in what they're currently seeing. Maybe they don't know. You know, when it comes to politics, this is one thing I don't like. And I hear a famous radio guy that does things like this, and he almost leans on black people.
Mhm.
I hate when this blame is put on black people that things that are happening are because we didn't vote.
Well, we didn't vote as well as we could have voted in the last mayoral election. There's no question about that. But a lot of times people don't know what to vote for. And a lot of
You
times,
got to give them something to vote for.
right, you got to give them something to vote for. And I think that in the last election, they were just very turned off. The last municipal election here in Baltimore, we had one of the lowest turnouts we've ever had. I don't remember exact numbers, but it's unfortunate. I think the big problem is that we have a lot of the elected officials are very much out of touch. When I was in office, I didn't agree with everybody, but I did feel that people came well, they were much more in touch with the community, were much more populist, if you will. Today, and I think I've told you, I've said this to you before. I remember a time when almost everybody in City Hall and in Annapolis, for that matter, came from maybe three different places. They either came from a political organization, they came from a community organization, you know, they were involved in a community or neighborhood group, or from a church, or a combination. Today, most of the people in City Hall, most if not all of them, come outside of that, right? And what has happened is that there are lobbying groups and other groups that are they're financing these local candidates, and consequently, they do not represent everyday people as much. And what's happening, in my view, with the city council of Baltimore on up the ladder, is that people behave more like they're fiefdoms. You know, like in other words, they don't represent the people. The people have to represent them or accept whatever
These
they believe.
cats get in there and get full of themselves. And it's like, bruh, you don't have the spirit leadership attitude.
No, because we had meetings with certain people, and what happens is
these cats really get full of themselves. It's like,
right.
You do know that's not your permanent job for life, don't you?
Right. Well, that's the mentality, and I'm gonna tell you something else.
Okay.
I think that Baltimore going to single member districts was not a great thing.
Horrible idea.
Right, because when you had 3 people, you in a way
accountability.
You had to compete, and if you relax, somebody else, one of your colleagues,
bump your seat.
Exactly. So that's the real problem right now. But
question P, that's what it was. Mitch Klein, Acorn, they pushed that single member district. Do we notice, brother? Question P, and then most recently this term limit thing. Do we realize that this legislation is introduced to cut black people's throats? What is wrong with us? And then you get 2 or 3 black people who lost elections to push this term limit thing like it benefits us. That doesn't benefit us.
No, I think the problem, as I see it now, is that they're outside forces with deep pockets, and they're able to dictate the agenda. That's the bottom line. And, it made me think. I remember this is actually a few months ago. I talked to a council person, and I'm not going to name this person, but I said, look, I want to talk to you about issues that are going on here in Baltimore. And you've got these, it was budget season, okay? In Baltimore, the fiscal year begins July 1. And so this was like May of that year. And I said, okay, you got budget hearings, it's your opportunity to bring some stuff up. And this person got scared. I said, well, listen, I just got a couple of things I want to talk to you about. Says, oh, well, contact me, send me an email. I'll see if I can schedule a meeting. And I'm thinking that I'm not holding a gun to your head. All I'm telling you is that there are certain things that I think that are money that's being misspent, and it could be better spent, it could be better targeted, and it could be better managed. And like, you're afraid to even learn about certain things because you're just going to follow in line. You're not challenging anything. I don't remember ever back, if you go back 25, 30 years ago in the 90s, there were people that I didn't always agree with, but I felt that they genuinely cared about their district, and they weren't afraid to challenge the powers that be. That's the mentality we had. In my area, for example, here in West Baltimore, we've been fighting the narrowing of the streets. Our council person will say, well, he and the Department of Transportation. And I'm saying to him, you don't represent the Department of Transportation.
Him and the Department of Transportation what?
Well, we believe this. We believe that. We believe that we've got to calm the street along Glen Falls Parkway. We believe. And I'm saying,
when they start talking traffic calming, I know they didn't talk to Bikemore. I know they've been influenced by these lobbyists for Bikemore. Right. I know they've been threatened. And I know they give more power to Bikemore than their own damn people.
Right. And I think that the thing to remember is that this is even bigger than bikes. I believe that if you study what Bikemore is doing, if you study their parent groups like Smart Growth America, they are about downsizing cities. They lie a lot. They talk about, oh, we want to maintain the city. No, they're about gentrification. They're about moving out Black communities and working class white communities too. And
why they got bike lane on West North Avenue going towards 83? You're trying to get down North Avenue from West Baltimore, and you got some planners who decided to narrow North Avenue. Some people, I'm trying not to cuss, who don't live in West Baltimore and don't give a rat's bottom of the congestion that they cause. This is not calming. This is congestion.
Right. And it violates the International Fire Code. I mean, our thing was the International Fire Code, which Baltimore adopted many, many years
ago. And whose idea was this?
Brian
Dorsey is who they tell me is the big thank you to. Was he born in Baltimore?
I think he was born in Baltimore, but he was isolated.
He couldn't possibly have come through Baltimore City because he would know better. He doesn't know better.
He doesn't care. See, if you believe
Oh,
that the most
and then they
important
gonna tell me how to live. Now we
right,
got a problem. Get
right.
rid of
Well, the
the
worst
damn bike lanes, open it up for the fire trucks, and
right.
open 28th Street up. And you're not gonna tell me the people in Hamden like stalled cars in front of their house 24/7, because that's what they got.
Right. Well, they don't like it. The people out on Harford Road don't like it. I mean, all over the city. But this is what I'm talking about. We're talking about, and I said this too in a meeting where he was there, transportation, public works, everybody but the mayor. It would have been better if the mayor was there. But the thing is this, I said, this is supposed to be a democracy, right? Which means that the majority rules. Well, you know full well that people don't want this. You know they don't want it. You know they dislike it. They hate it actually. So I said, well, why don't you do a scientific poll? Ask people how they feel about North Avenue and other places. They don't want to do that because they already know how it's going to come out. They don't believe in democracy at all, right? And what I'm saying,
No,
yeah, well,
and
and
these
that's
are
what.
white liberals.
Right, right. Well, white liberals, as Malcolm told us, can be very, very racist. Right?
Trumpish, no different than Trump.
No different at all than Trump, and that is why that nationally right now the Democrats' numbers are so low. Trump's numbers are low, very low, but the Democrats in the last poll, I think Gallup is the ones who did it several weeks ago. The Democrats' numbers are even lower than Donald Trump right now. And that's because largely, I believe, is that the Democratic Party elites are not democratic. They're elitist.
They
They're
suckers.
right. They're promoting exclusivity, and they see. There's no way that if you look at 2021, when the Democrats passed all these big spending bills, okay, American Rescue Act, infrastructure, inflation reduction, on and on and on. With all trillions of dollars, it had no impact upon people on the ground level because the money went basically to their donors. You see that here in Baltimore City, the money into their own people who want to actually dislodge Black communities, even though Black folks are the major supporters of the Democrats. Nationally, a third of the Democratic Party vote.
And we get treated like
Black.
a cold stepchild.
Terrible, terrible, terrible. And they don't care.
Why do I vote Democrat? Why do I, a Black man in a 9-1 Democratic city that has never invested in the Black community?
Right.
Why do I vote Democrat? Why do I vote for Frank Conaway? Why do I vote for Angela Gibson? Why do I do all of these things? Remember Anthony Brown was running for governor? They had signs up Liberty Heights said, vote for the Democrat. You remember that?
Right, right.
Vote for the Democrat.
Well, I think a lot of it is tradition, and I think the basic thing they tell us is
Tradition ain't working.
That we're not as bad as the other guy. That's basically what it comes down to. Like they're gonna hurt you more than we're gonna hurt you. That's bottom line.
Worse. They're worse because they should know better. And the racism within the Maryland Democratic Party is unacceptable.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's look,
and
they don't
the lack of young Black people in there. See, what I see is young whites being trained in a democratic tradition, and that's not one of equity. It's more like the 60s.
Yeah, I mean, it's the worst I've ever seen it, and we take the bait, we go along with it, and we're not demanding. I mean, the big problem we have is that we don't know how to demand anything, you know, and our leaders are not demanding, and they're taking advantage of us. The worst thing is that they use us to act.
Yeah, that's when they say, oh, you don't vote. That's because you don't vote.
Well, look, I mean, people, you got to give people something to vote for. They are using us to access money and funds, and then not only do they not use it for us, but in many cases they're using it against us, right? I'll give you an example. You and I have talked about this. There was a press conference where the governor, the Congress people were there, council people, on and on and on. In West Baltimore, they were talking about the highway to nowhere. This is a travesty that goes way back to the 70s where the city of Baltimore used eminent domain to destroy a black homeowner occupied neighbor where you had black people that own their own homes, one of the highest rates in the entire city of Baltimore. And they did eminent domain and forced people to move and took their houses because they wanted to build a highway that would go from out in the county.
They said they wanted to build a highway.
Right. It was never actually built. It was a bad idea. Interestingly enough, one of the people that fought that was somebody named Mikulski. Barbara Mikulski became famous because she represented all the way down to Fells Point. White folks said, no, 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 you're not going to bring that down here. She gained, and again, like I said, she was an activist. She was a community leader and gained notoriety. She became a councilperson, congressperson, senator. However, much of the damage had been done already to our community. They tore down all these homes. So now what's happened all these years later, okay, in this little so-called highway street that goes nowhere. Now the Democrats are saying, we're going to come up with $85 million to deal with the harm that was done. So when I asked representatives, okay, well, what are you going to do with that $85 million? Well, here's what they say. We haven't decided yet. We're going to, we know so far we want open space and bike lanes. And I'm saying, what the hell does that have to do with harm? What does that have to do with
fixing the harm?
Fixing the harm, right? If the harm is that you destroy black home ownership, then the remedy should be bring back black home ownership. They don't want to do that. They're using us to get money to hurt us, to get us out of there. That's what it's all about.
Democrats and black Democrats.
Right. Black Democrats who ought to know better.
Thank you, brother.
But we don't know whether they know better because they don't talk to us. Right? They don't talk to us.
That's why we got to vote them out.
Yeah. I think that it's sad that COVID was used as an excuse for black elected officials and other
to become further uninvolved.
Exactly. They don't go to meetings. You know, I think I told you when I started many eons ago in office, Sheila Dixon and I worked together. We were new. We used to work with Agnes Welch in West Baltimore. We went to almost every community meeting, that you can imagine, every night. And it was expected. And even back in those days, even the mayor was supposed to go to community meetings, other people. They don't do that anymore, right? COVID gave them the excuse to shut the door and they closed down City Hall, and they don't visit people anymore. So they don't really know. Very rarely. They don't know, and they don't seem to care about how people feel.
What do we do about these bike lanes?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think. Okay, we can continue to beg and plead and fight with the local elected. And by the way, I believe that these local elected officials know that it's a dumb idea. It's a dumb idea on its face, okay? If a street is not at least 20 feet wide, the International Fire Code that Baltimore adopted says streets have to be at least 20 feet wide, right? 20 to 26 feet wide. When you narrow it more than that, you make it impossible for a fire truck or ambulance to get through. So you're endangering people's lives. You know it's bad, you know it's wrong, but they're afraid of the bike people, right? They don't offer any pushback to
I'm from Baltimore. I don't understand how you're afraid of somebody.
Apparently they are, right? I don't understand it either. And, my thing is
see if they would say, I'm afraid to go to Lamel, or I'm afraid to walk up Poplar Grove. You're afraid of the Bikemore people?
Right. They're afraid.
And then you got these black people who ride bikes who fall in sync with that out of town thinking. So now you got a whole group of blacks on bikes who are entitled.
Yeah, but they handpick these people. They don't.
Yeah, these cherry picked Negroes that you want to take out back.
Right.
And introduce them to your cousin.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you. But see, I'm gonna tell you something else, Donnie. That's why I'm trying to encourage more strong black men to get involved. Because when you go to these community meetings, it's mainly just our women who I admire greatly because I think they're doing great work, but we need more brothers because they're punking us. I mean, they literally come into our community and say, we're taking over, we're going to do what we want to do, whether you like it or not. So when you talk about bikes, we got to fight it on this level. But I think we have gotten to the point where we got to remember the old adage, we have no permanent friends, we have no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. So what I would argue is that if necessary, maybe we need to go over their heads and go to the feds because they're mostly using federal transportation dollars. Instead of making it better to drive around Baltimore, they're making it worse, right? So maybe we need to go to the feds and say, look, these monies are not being used right. And one of the requirements of these federal dollars is that there be community engagement. Right, you've heard the term in community engagement. We know that's all crap. There's no community engagement. We met.
I want to tell you about community engagement here in Sandtown.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to take the traffic light away from Fremont and Lawrence.
Right.
This is the Department of Planning. When we met with them, they had one black person that worked for them. And matter of fact, I remember them bringing a young black person to the meeting who was kind of like a sergeant at arms, almost like an intimidating, like bodyguard type, who was going to insist, who seemingly insisted that we understand what planning was trying to get us to do. They wanted to take traffic off of Fremont Avenue to extend the street. Now, wow. I get when foreigners come with ideas to the black community. I don't get when those foreigners are black, because I'm saying to myself, if you black and you know us, why are you coming over here sounding like the white boy?
Well,
when the young black man start talking to me about traffic calming,
right?
I'm wondering, do you understand how long it takes to get from out of West Baltimore just to the highway because of this traffic calming?
Right.
Do you realize what it does to the black community? Because I see traffic backed up from north of Mount Royal. I've seen it all the way to like North and Cary. Well,
here's the thing.
Have you experienced that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can look outside my window right now. At certain times, traffic is backed up from Druid Park Drive all the way around here. Here's the thing.
Why?
I have
opened up the other damn lane, move the damn concrete barriers out the way. And how long do it take to fix the damn reservoir?
Right. Well, see, the problem
with conclusion that it's not going to get fixed in our lifetime.
Well, the Democrats have a lot of cronyism. They have a lot of extreme corruption. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they ought to be worried about the Trump administration auditing Baltimore. Because I'm no
that reservoir, dude, I don't know what they're doing. It don't take that long.
No, it doesn't.
Maybe we need to get a foreign force up in there because whoever's in charge, they take too long. They stretch it out. You work construction, I work construction. You drag it out.
Yeah, originally it was $134 million that was allocated. Originally, the idea was that
they over there blowing bubbles, man.
The federal government had said to Baltimore that you got to secure the water supply, right? That's what this was all about. So the water supply had to be further underground, I guess, because they were afraid of somebody trying to poison us or something. But what happened was, as always, certain powers that be used this as an opportunity to feed their donors, their friends, right? They decided to destroy a big chunk of the lake. Historic lake. We used to go down there. Our parents used to go down there. They destroy a big chunk of it to create God knows what. We hear they say that it's going to be an amphitheater, here's the interesting thing. At the same time, Ryan Dorsey and his cohorts are trying to eliminate as much parking as possible over there, right? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, okay? But they were, even while Biden was in office, I mean, 2 years ago, they were told that they were behind schedule and they were going to be fined, but it never stopped. So, I mean, the question is, who's auditing what this contractor or these contractors are doing?
Bikemore.
There you go.
It's just like Port Covington. Did we get our money's worth?
Absolutely
Did Port
not.
Covington buy the entire city council?
There you go.
Did they?
They did something like that because they passed it, and it's a disaster. And the rich are getting richer, and the poor are getting poorer.
What's there in Port Covington? I mean, I know we like slutty vegan, but beyond that, really took all of our tax dollars for what?
It's a disaster. It's not working. It's not working, and they now have to admit that it's a. And certain people, I give even credit to my friend, former Councilman Carl Stokes, because Carl actually was opposed to that, and I talked to Carl about that, and I said, "Wow, now you're proven right because it didn't work. Under Armour is over there; they're having a hard time. I mean, all those companies that was supposed
Under Armour people act like they run, like they own that part of town. I've caught the vibe down there, and it's not much different than when we used to catch the Super Sunday bus down to Fort McHenry as kids, and then white people used to throw bottles at us. They are some privileged, ignorant people in that neighborhood. And I don't think it's the locals, it's the people who work in there. And it's like Under Armour is his own little city, and you can't come over here. I don't even wear Under Armour. I don't even like the brand personally. So for you to act, it's like an ugly girl acting pretty. It's like, boo-boo, you're not that cute, right? You're replaceable. You do know you ain't a 10.
Well, it's the thing. So you got Democratic cities like Baltimore.
Come on now, boo-boo. Did she look in the mirror? You ever see an ugly girl with an ego?
A lot
Stop
of them.
it, boo-boo.
There's a lot of them these days. Yeah, well, that's the thing. But see, when these wealthy people are politically connected, they get these tax breaks, they get these TIFs, tax increment financing deals, pilots, payment in lieu of taxes. They get huge tax breaks, and they always, and they attack our people, and they talk about, well, black people and these other poor whites, they want welfare, they want this. Well, they don't have a problem with giving welfare to the rich. It's like Martin Luther King said, it's how they put that, it's socialism for the rich and capitalism for the poor. So they give them money, okay? Donald Trump knows all about that because that's what he used to do when he was in New York, when he went from Brooklyn into Manhattan. Big tax breaks, big money.
Donald Trump, whose best friend is the pedophile.
There you go.
The president's best friend is the pedophile.
Yeah, well, they were best friends for a good 15 years. That's kind of deep.
But these people voted for him.
They did.
The same people who are questioning him voted for him. Knowing his best friend is a pedophile. Really,
well, I don't know
if isn't a penitentiary big enough to put all of these people in. Because
if they didn't know then, they definitely know now. And so
they knew then.
But there's the hypocrisy because he's talking about accountability in government, but he's not being
knocking off somebody's granddaughter.
Well, Elon Musk, he allowed Elon Musk to go in and basically eviscerate much of federal government, fire people. And then he turns around, he doesn't release the Epstein files. Elon Musk turns on him. Elon Musk complains. And here's the thing, Elon Musk complains that he's not getting really the breaks that he thought he was going to get.
Who cares what this Afrikaner gets? He's not even from here. Right. He's an illegal.
Yeah.
Treat him like you treated them Haitians at the border. Elon, who?
Right, but he's white. That's the thing, and that makes him all right. But again, what I'm trying to say is,
good luck with that.
The hypocrisy is that he, Trump, and these Democrats, for that matter, when it comes to poor black people or poor white people, it's pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But when it comes to the rich and their friends, they hand them money, hand over fist, to blow the money at will. And they claim they're doing it for the people. So in other words, I'm not talking about just contracts. I'm talking about major tax breaks. You saw that at Port Covington, see that all over the city, and what's happened as a result of it. Here we are.
They still lose. See, this is my thing. All of the money that went into building downtown wasn't balanced by also investing in Uptown.
Right. Well, they could have. And that's the worst thing about it is that, think about this. The city received $641 million of American Rescue Act money, along with other monies, okay? They could have used that money to rebuild the inner city. They could have used that money to rebuild these areas in our communities, which have become dilapidated and vacant and so forth. They didn't do that because they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to do that. And yet they claim to be representing us. They blew the money. We don't even know where most of that money went to. It appears that it went to a lot of white nonprofits who, again, are aligned with people that supported the council and the mayor.
And we got all these nonprofits. I'm just trying to understand how come it doesn't work. How come our children are underachieving in school? Mm-hmm. How come there are not enough after-school programs when we have all of this money for those very things? Who's stealing the money? And how do you have a school CEO that makes $500,000 and our kids don't even have Black history?
When you look at these nonprofits, I think that's the scam of the times we're living in, the nonprofits.
The nonprofit industrial complex.
Exactly. So our question is, why is it that so many of these monies that go into nonprofits, a large percentage of it ends up going to quote unquote administrative costs, right? Now, I asked this question some years ago because one of the things I noticed was that I can use so many examples. Take in the health department, there are contracts that have gone out or grant money that's gone out, where a large percentage of that money is used for administrative costs. And I asked the question, I said, well, I thought that the law says, the federal law, that federal grants, no more than 10% of grant money can go for administrative costs. And yet you see all this money that goes to that. What is that money for? You see that in the health department, you see that with
it's called private school tuition.
Right, somebody's private school. So you look at recovery, again, after we have a major allotment of money that comes into the city, like after Freddie Gray, what happens to all the money? How come it didn't make a difference?
Well, the damn sure ain't making the Pennsylvania Avenue.
No. And one of the points I made was that we're financing some of these programs that we know don't work. If you have a lot of people that are in recovery or need to be in recovery, generally they need isolation, right? How do you have programs on Pennsylvania Avenue when you walk out the door, somebody's selling you some stuff, right? It doesn't make any sense.
City. They sell New Jack City. That's the name of the so-called dope at Penn North.
Right.
And it's not what they said it was.
Right.
Let's talk about that for a second. I get a phone call from a treatment director, a treatment center director, 3:00 this morning. The dope at Penn North is not dope. It's not heroin. It's not fentanyl.
Right.
It's called New Jack City. And it's made with nitazene, Nitazene, nitazene.
Right.
It's got a long, funky name, but it's called New Jack City. And it began, what happened at Penn North is a part of a national thing. It's not just in Baltimore. This same nitazene, New Jack City, is in Boulder, Colorado, Chicago. So what's up with the misinformation that came out of City Hall as if nobody OD'd and died? And by the way, for this nitazene, Narcan don't work. Right. This stuff is stronger than fentanyl. So you're battling with the wrong tools. You need a different kind of thing to bring people back from this nitazene. So what's up with the misinformation? Because I understand that a noted Black person's daughter OD'd from this dope up there. Did you hear that?
No, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, well-known sister's child died from that.
We need off for the air to talk about that, because I do know that what I've heard is that there are a lot of young people who are mixing all kinds of stuff. You got that.
Oh, the young boys stuff. Yeah.
They're taking, as you said, animal animal sedatives, tranquilizers, and then mixing it with other stuff. And like you said, the problem is Narcan addresses heroin and fentanyl. But when you add this other
Are we
stuff,
supposed to use 2 Narcans when it comes to fentanyl?
right,
At the most, they're using 4 and 5.
right,
Narcan has its limitations, and the Narcan drug company doesn't let people know this, that Narcan does not fix everything. And
right.
if you're trying to bring back somebody back, for instance, and they're on nitazine, which is an elephant tranquilizer.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really sad. The fentanyl.
And why they lying?
Right.
Why are you lying to people?
Yeah.
If it's killing people, tell people.
Well, let me tell you, and that brings up a whole nother problem because I think we've got a serious mental health problem. People are depressed. People, when the word gets out there, and I remember back even in the 90s, we would put the word out on the street. I mean, from City Hall that there's something really bad on the street, and we
somebody gonna get dealt with in the streets.
Yeah, it's killing people. But then you got some people that want it even more when they hear that it is killing people. Either because they think they're going to get high, or in some cases,
that's killing people.
Some people have a death wish. That's how bad it is right now. So we really got to deal with that.
Walk out there in the traffic, save everybody some time.
Right. Well, Baltimore is the overdose capital of America. That we do know. And
why so many people drive high?
Yeah. Well, it's worse here than New York or LA or Philly or Detroit, Chicago. More overdoses per capita in Baltimore than anywhere else in America. And you got to ask. So in other words, we may not die one way, but we die another way. So many different ways people are going out, being taken out in the city. And I would also suggest that there's a lot of misery. And it doesn't have to be this way. As you said earlier, one of the big things is that I think the worst thing that Black leadership did in this country, in Baltimore and other places, is it lowered the expectations of the people. People don't believe it can be better. People don't know why things are so bad. People don't realize all this money is being put into the economy, but it's not going to them.
Let me tell you when we got pimped. When we accepted 60 as passing. I was young, you were still young. Mm-hmm. When they made 60 passing, that's when we started dummying down education. You said that your kid barely needed to get more than half of them right for them to continue to get funding. 60, that's when it started. And then I think that from a street level, around that same time, you couldn't say something to somebody else's child. Before, we grew up in a village where the neighbor down the street would tap you and your mother would tap you because she didn't call before you even get in the house. Right. That's when we came up with the attitude, don't say nothing to my child. Yeah. Okay. Then you find out that that same little person is now robbing banks and raping people. Well, I'm going to tell you. Don't say nothing to my child. Okay.
Yeah.
Man's ass in the penitentiary.
Yeah. Well, they say it takes a village to raise a child. We had that mentality at one time.
No, you got a lot of these minded people. I don't need a man.
Well, hey, that's a whole discussion in itself. I think that
yes, you do, boo-boo, because it took 2 of y'all to make that little boy, that little girl, and it took 2 of y'all to raise him. Right. Well, and now you and your new girlfriend, you and the child's father. Well, look, the Black movement, in my opinion, I said it,
was at its height.
It took a man and a woman to make him. It took a man and a woman to raise him.
Well, you got no argument for me on that. But remember, when we had strong Black men leading families, leading the community, I think that we were a threat. And I believe that it was deliberately done. There were deliberate things done. Planned.
Like in Claudine, they told James Earl Jones, you better not be here when we come through with the inspection.
Mm-hmm. Right.
James Earl Jones, remember he jumped out the window.
Well, I mean, and again, this is even our white liberal, so-called white liberal friends. They
They're
design.
not my friends.
They
Stop that.
design. Yeah, well, I'm saying so-called, okay, but they design these programs where a woman to get that check, that welfare check, the man couldn't be in the house, right? So they created an environment, and that's only one of the things they did to me to intentionally break up the black family. Let's take it to right now in Baltimore. Baltimore, in my view, has become extremely anti-family. I think they're trying to downsize. I think right now in the city council, we have a package of bills that were influenced by Councilman Ryan Dorsey. They now the mayor's gotten behind them to change zoning in Baltimore in such a way that it's easier to destroy single-family houses. They have developers who want to come in and be able to chop up single-family houses without getting any permission. So you can do it now, but you got to go to zoning and so forth to get permission. There's a process. They want to get rid of that process because in their utopia of the future, you're going to have single professionals, mostly white professionals, who they want to attract and keep in the city, and they don't gear things towards families. That's why they're closing these schools down, right? We're fighting that, or we ought to be fighting it. What's going on with the black leaders on that? Okay, we said years ago, those of us who studied this, that
they fall for it. They say
right.
school. They say areas like Sandtown don't need a new school.
Right.
That's
well,
what my own black leaders have told
We're
me.
not even keeping the schools that we have. It's shutting down schools left and right. Here's what you do. When the population, I think now what it is that roughly when the population in the school that gets down below 85%, it becomes a candidate for closure. What we said was, no, move that down lower, maybe make it 70% or lower. And what you do is you shrink the school, don't close the school. All you have to do is bring other departments, agencies into the building, bring in recreation parks, keep the school going. This has been done before. It can be done again. But what I'm telling you is that what's really, really scary is they're not only doing this in areas that they deem to be low income, they're doing it even among the bourgeois Negroes. We saw that happen over there off of Rogers Avenue, the school up there. I'm trying, it escapes me the name of it. But the point being
Arlington Elementary.
Right, up there off of
Rogers
right. Here's the point. They have contempt for black neighborhoods. They have contempt for black people. They are, even in my neighborhood, I see there was a house that was zoned for 7 units. They more than doubled the number of units in there. We're all saying, well, how could you possibly do that? Well, they are marketing toward only single professionals who don't have children. My daughter's grown up. I don't have to worry about that, okay? But I am concerned now because my children are out of they're not in the nest anymore. But if we're going to keep strong black families, we need young people with children, right? They are trying to do everything to stop that because I say, but my point is they are very anti-family and they know what they're doing.
And they know they're being outnumbered. In 2055, all of these numbers are steadily changing. The white majority is not the majority no more. You got the Latinos burgeoning population.
Right. Well, you've heard of Dr. Claude Anderson. He warned back in 99, 2000 that this was going to happen. He wrote the book Black Labor, White Wealth and Powernomics, and he warned that this was going to happen. It's interesting because it seems you got two different techniques to hurt us or to stop us. Now, on the one hand, you've got the conservative people who want to block money from coming to us. On the other hand, you got the liberals. Money comes to us, but they control it, and they open the floodgates for foreigners, immigration, and they open it up too much, really, because now you got places and around the country, up in Chicago, Detroit. They have protested. You have got black schools, public schools that were closed, and now they're using those to house immigrants. So they are basically pitting different people against each other. But again, to your question about the Democrats, clearly they are not working in the best interest of their biggest supporters, which is black people.
Okay. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I would just say one more thing that, as we had said earlier this year, my belief is the problem is that, and I'm talking about the Democratic Party and the Democratic Party elite as it plays out here in Baltimore and around the country. I believe the problem is that Democrats aren't really being democratic. I believe
It is
that
democratic.
huh?
Because I think what we think it is goes out the door by the time we get there. Because we are busy. We taking selfies, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we doing, man.
Right.
I see some of these grown people, politicians, they take more selfies than a little girl.
Well, that's where their mind is. And, as a brother,
What you gonna do with a selfie?
Brother just talked about group economics, and we as black people have to practice that. I said in an interview I had recently, because we were talking about this, and our problem as black people is not that we don't work hard, is that we don't work together. That's our major problem, okay? Yeah, you got some people who are lazy. Yeah, you got a lot of those issues like every race has. But we don't work together. We don't pool our resources. And when we have black elected
why don't we work together?
Well, we've been conditioned to work against each other, to compete with each other. We don't keep a group consciousness where we have a group interest. We're taught to compete with each other. Black people don't look at themselves as competing with other ethnic groups. We look at ourselves competing with other black people, right? And then our leaders, our bourgeois black leaders, they don't represent us either. But here's again, let me say this about the Democrats. What I was trying to say was that in the Democratic Party, the smallest groups, let me go back. The Democratic Party is made up of a hodgepodge of different interest groups, right? The problem is the smallest groups exert the most power. The biggest group has the least power. What are the smaller groups? Okay, white women, for example. Most white women actually voted Republican last time. Okay, they're not that loyal. Even the LGBT.
They voted Republican for a pedophile.
Right. The LGBT.
They voted against their own interests.
The LGBTQ, got to get that right. The alphabet people. They have a lot of power in the Democratic Party, right? White women have a lot of power.
And they like black people until they get what they want. Then they kick the black LGBTQ people to the curb.
Right. There's racism there too. Okay, now.
Damn right it is. They want to get a pass. You don't get no pass. They have a lot of
power. They have power over the agenda of the Democratic Party. Black people,
too much
bigger than all those groups. Black people,
damn right,
a third of the Democratic Party in terms of vote nationally. But we have the least power. If anybody's going to be sacrificed,
because it's still racist. They ain't no damn liberal.
They sacrifice
undercover Klansmen,
and they take advantage of us, and they use us and exploit us. And again, we used to think that it was a lack of resources, but we know now that there's a lot of money that the Democrats in 2021 they passed more funding bills than any time in the history of this country, even going back to Roosevelt back in the 30s. And we still didn't get the money. The money is not meeting us where the rubber meets the road. And black people are still suffering. And I want to say one more thing, and something that I remember recently seeing a video. Kwame Ture, formerly Stokely Carmichael. I remember when I was a student, I brought him to campus at the University of Maryland when I was president of the Black Student Union. But there's a video, it's on YouTube, and you can see it, where he said, the African bourgeoisie is the most corrupt in the entire world. He's talking about black people, African people here and in Africa. In Africa, there are more Mercedes than anywhere else in the world. Corruption. Here in America, same thing. corruption. We got black elected officials. I remember something. I'll leave you with this, that Pern J. Mitchell said to me, I never forget this, when he was older and retired. He said, Lawrence, when I was in Congress, we never dreamed of having over 50 people, 50 blacks in Congress. But we got more done with a few of us than they have today with over 50. The biggest caucus in Congress is the Congressional Black Caucus.
But
what did
busy
they produce?
Promoting everybody else's agenda but black people. I heard Hakeem Jeffries come on. The first thing out of his mouth was fighting for Israel. And I'm saying, no disrespect, but black men, that's the first thing you talking about? Why do we need you? Because I'm not saying that we need you there first.
Why is Trump announcing?
Somebody to speak up for me first.
Right. Why is this administration?
Am I not an American?
Why is this administration, if you're going to talk about foreign policy, they announcing this new agreement to rip off more from the Democratic Republic of the Congo?
Yeah, that's why Congo, they recently teaming up with their neighbors. They built, I think it was, where's my map at? Right next door. They're building from Kinshasa.
Yeah, but let me say this, very important.
Yeah.
Congo is one of the richest countries in the world in terms of natural resources. Okay, your iPhone, your cell phone, your electric car, you get lithium and other materials from the Congo, right? And yet the people in the Congo are the poorest people on the planet. Why? Because multinational, white, and many times American companies are ripping them off. Where is Hakeem Jeffries, if you're going to get into foreign policy, where is he in talking about how Africa?
He ain't said sugar, honey, or iced tea. LB, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, you know what? Reach me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, facebook.com/Lawrence Bell, LAWRENCEBELL. And I'm going to be relaunching my website, lawrencebell.com, very soon too, in the next 2 weeks. So reach out. We'll pull together. We got to build a resistance.
Hey, man, I need you to fix that 28th Street bridge. I'm coming off. I'm sitting on the bridge. After the Key Bridge had gone down, they got people double parked on a bridge.
Yeah.
And the people in Hamden don't want all of that single lane traffic, fumes. And how is a car sitting still, burning gas? How is that healthy for the environment? And the bike lane people, I like to bring them bike lane people to my neighborhood.
I like to have a real debate. Why don't we have that? Let's have a debate with the bike lane people. I love it. I'll enjoy it. I'll tear them up. Let's have a citywide poll, scientific poll, to find out what the people want. They won't do that because they know what the people want and they're against it.
Thank you for joining us. Good morning, world.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Sir.